Do you want the promotion that would finally match your responsibility? Do you want the career change that would release you from work you have outgrown? Do you want a dependable roster of clients, a certification that opens a door, or independent income built from your own ability? Then answer the deeper question. What useful result can another person confidently seek from you today? That question changes everything. You may have saved dozens of listings. You may have enrolled in courses, sampled new fields, rewritten your plans, adjusted your resume, redesigned your profile, and announced that you are considering several promising directions. Activity is present. Hope is present. Effort is present. Yet momentum is absent. Why? Because motion among possibilities is not the same as movement toward usefulness. A long list of possible futures can conceal a refusal to become useful in one present direction. The list feels ambitious because it contains many doors. But a door does not become a path until you choose it, enter it, and practice long enough to carry something valuable through it. If you are underemployed, you may call this keeping your options open. If you are changing careers, you may call it exploring your fit. If you hope to provide a service, you may call it researching the market. Each can be reasonable for a time. But examine the record honestly. Has your exploration produced sustained practice? Has it produced a problem you understand well enough to help solve? Has it produced an offer that another person could accept, reject, question, or improve? If not, your opportunity list may be protecting you. Every unchosen path preserves a flattering fantasy. In one future, you are the strategist. In another, the consultant. In another, the certified specialist, the creator, the founder, the indispensable hire. None of these imagined identities can be judged because none has been required to perform. But choose one direction, and fantasy meets a standard. Your work can be seen, your assumptions can be corrected, your ability can grow. Understand this without condemning yourself. Avoidance often dresses respectably. It reads, it compares, it plans, it stays busy enough to escape accusation and scattered enough to escape measurement. The answer is not shame. The answer is command. Career attraction begins when opportunity chasing gives way to concentrated usefulness. You will narrow the field to one useful skill you can demonstrate, one costly problem you can investigate responsibly, one clear service offer you can bound honestly, and one immediate test that allows reality to answer. But before choosing any of them, you must confront the first decision. What will you stop chasing long enough to become accountable in one direction? Look beneath the public complaint that good opportunities are scarce. Examine the private machinery of drift, what you repeatedly choose, what you repeatedly practice, and what evidence those choices have produced. Begin with fairness. A stalled career is a condition, not an identity. It does not prove that you are incapable, condemned, or permanently behind. It proves only that your present pattern has not yet produced sufficient evidence of usefulness. Do not turn a correctable pattern into a verdict against yourself, but do not protect the pattern by calling it fate. Take an inventory of the last 90 days. Write down the options you researched, the courses you started, the skills you actually practiced, the problems you investigated, the conversations you held, and the useful outputs you completed. Count actions, not intentions. Count what was finished, shown, tested, or improved. Your memory will reward enthusiasm. Your record will reveal direction. Now divide that inventory. Which activities created evidence that you can do something useful? Which gave you knowledge you applied? Which produced work another person could examine? And which merely created the emotional sensation of preparation? Preparation can be necessary. Preparation theater is different. It lets you feel close to action without accepting the risk of completion. You collect information but produce no artifact. You compare paths but deepen no ability. You begin repeatedly but return to nothing consistently. The decisive measure is not how many possibilities received your attention. It is how much evidence of usefulness your attention produced. Observe the cycle. Excitement arrives first. You discover a promising direction and collect everything around it. Then comparison enters. Another path appears faster, safer, more impressive, or more suited to the person you imagine becoming. Doubt follows comparison. Practice becomes uncomfortable. Progress becomes less dramatic. You abandon the work before repetition can mature into ability, and the next promising beginning restores excitement. Excitement. Collection. Comparison. Doubt. Abandonment. Renewal. The cycle feels alive because it keeps changing its subject, yet its result remains unchanged. Novelty keeps interrupting depth, and attention keeps being mistaken for advancement. The drifting person asks, which opportunity will rescue me? The governed person asks, what can I become reliably useful at? One question places power outside you and waits for favorable selection. The other places responsibility in your conduct and demands practice, completion, and proof. Responsibility here is not punishment. It is leverage. If repeated choices help divide your effort, repeated choices can gather it. If you learn to escape uncertainty through another beginning, you can learn to meet uncertainty by returning to the same useful work. You are not required to repair your entire career today. You are required to read your record honestly. Once the pattern is visible, it loses its mystery. Once its cost is measured, it can be governed. And a divided pattern is governed by one unifying principle. Stop asking which possibility is most exciting and begin asking where concentrated usefulness can remove a meaningful burden. Here is the governing principle. Concentrated usefulness precedes dependable opportunity. An opportunity may reveal value. It may provide a setting in which value can be recognized, requested, and rewarded. But it cannot manufacture an ability you have never practiced, clarify a problem you have never investigated, or strengthen a promise you have never tested. So replace the crowded question with an executable sequence. Choose one useful skill. Apply it to one costly problem. Package the intended result as one bounded service offer. Test that offer through action. Refine the skill, the problem, and the offer through feedback. Practice. Investigate. Offer. Learn. This is not a guarantee that every test will succeed. It is a method for producing evidence. Each step gives the next step something solid to work with. Practice produces an observable ability. Investigation reveals whether that ability addresses a burden people actually experience. The offer makes your proposed help specific enough to judge. Action brings a response. Feedback corrects what private thought could not settle. Notice the contrast. The opportunity first path says, search, compare, hope, apply. Then search again when no answer arrives. The usefulness first path says, practice, investigate, offer, learn. One keeps asking which opening appears most attractive. The other develops something useful enough to place before a real need. And understand what one means. It does not mean one permanent identity, one irreversible career, or one decision binding the remainder of your life. It means one active direction for a defined test period. During that period, competing possibilities are not destroyed. They are denied command. You are choosing what receives concentrated effort now, so that reality can return a legible answer. Scattered effort is like light passing everywhere without sufficient focus. Bring it through a lens, direct it toward one point, and the same light becomes easier to see and use. Your time has not multiplied. Your intelligence has not suddenly changed. Your effort has become coherent because it is moving toward one result. Consider a composite illustration, not a promise of outcome. An underemployed project coordinator has entertained several unrelated career ideas. Instead of selecting another attractive identity, the coordinator sets those ideas aside for a defined period and chooses one practical direction, simple reporting workflow automation. Not a business yet, not an offer yet, not proof that anyone needs it. First, a direction worthy of practice and investigation. That distinction matters. The coordinator is not declaring, this is who I must be forever. The declaration is narrower. This is the ability I will develop and place against a real burden long enough to obtain evidence. That is command without fantasy and focus without imprisonment. One path, one practiced ability, one investigated burden, one offer that can meet the world and be corrected by it. Now the principle must become a choice. Which single skill deserves your concentrated practice during the test period ahead? Take a page and draw up a short inventory. What do you already do with some competence? What adjacent experience have you gained through work, study, responsibility, or necessity? What can you practice with the hours, tools, and access available to you now? Begin with assets within reach. Do not add another ambition merely because your present abilities seem ordinary. An ordinary ability that produces a needed result can carry more weight than a prestigious ambition that produces nothing. Now reduce your inventory to a short list of candidate skills and test each one with 4 questions. Does someone need the output? Can I demonstrate that output? Can I practice producing it repeatedly? Does it connect me to a problem I can investigate? Demand, demonstration, repetition, access. Do not ask whether the skill sounds impressive. Ask whether its effect can be observed. Can it produce an analysis, improve a workflow, organize a decision, create a draft, build a simple system, clarify a process, or deliver a usable design? A skill earns its place by changing something for someone. It is not an ornament for your aspirations. This is why you must distinguish a field from a skill. Marketing is a field. Technology is a field. Consulting is a field. You cannot meaningfully practice consulting for an hour and then inspect what consulting produced. But you can practice turning interview notes into a clear decision brief. You can practice building a reporting workflow. You can practice drafting a focused campaign plan from a defined set of inputs. The field names the territory. The skill names what you can repeatedly do within it. Beware of choosing the territory because you admire the identity associated with it. An identity can be announced before it is earned. An output must withstand inspection. Score your short list against the 4 questions. Use any simple scale that forces comparison. Then choose the strongest workable candidate, not the perfect skill. Not the final skill, but the one that best joins present capacity to potentially useful output. Put the remaining candidates on a later list. You are not declaring them worthless. You are ending their right to renegotiate today's decision. Return to the composite coordinator. The grander declaration might be, I am becoming a technology entrepreneur. It is exciting, expansive, and nearly impossible to practice directly. The workable choice is narrower. Building simple reporting workflows. That ability can produce something visible. It can be repeated. Its output can be shown, and it creates access to situations where reporting may consume time, create confusion, or require rework. Those burdens remain hypotheses until investigated, but the skill is concrete enough to begin. Now bind your choice to a defined commitment window. During that period, difficulty is not permission to reopen the entire opportunity list. Difficulty calls for practice. Weak output calls for correction. Missing knowledge calls for targeted learning. Evidence may eventually justify a change. Discomfort alone does not. Write the skill as an action. I will practice producing this result. Then name what another person could examine when you are finished. You have selected an instrument, but an instrument practiced only for self-improvement remains incomplete. Turn it outward now. Whose recurring burden can this skill responsibly reduce? And what does that burden already cost? Useful. To whom? Do not answer with a market category imagined from a distance. Name the person who carries the burden. Name the setting in which it returns. Name the consequence that makes its removal worth considering. A costly problem does not have to arrive with a price tag attached. It may consume hours, delay important work, create avoidable errors, obstruct decisions, frustrate customers, increase risk, or drain attention from higher value responsibilities. Cost appears wherever a recurring burden forces someone to surrender time, reliability, clarity, confidence, or capacity. But distinguish a complaint from a consequence. People complain about many things they will never act to change. An annoyance becomes commercially meaningful when its effects matter to someone, the burden is recognized, and a person with authority wants it reduced. Your enthusiasm does not establish that importance. Investigation does. Begin with 5 questions. Who experiences the problem? How often does it occur? What happens because of it? What do people do now to manage it? Who can authorize a change? Do not rush past these questions because your chosen skill appears to provide an obvious answer. The obvious answer is often the answer designed from your side of the table. You see what your skill can do. The other person lives with what the problem causes. Professional value begins when those two views meet. Investigate environments you already understand. Examine former roles, current work, professional communities, or accessible local organizations. Familiarity gives you context. Access gives you conversations. You do not need a distant market filled with strangers when recurring burdens may already be visible in places where you understand the language, the responsibilities, and the existing constraints. Hold problem conversations, not disguised sales presentations. Ask people to describe the last time the burden occurred. Listen for their exact language. Ask what happened next, who was affected, what workaround they used, and what a better outcome would look like. Do not lead them toward the answer you hope to hear. Do not defend your preferred tool. Do not promise a result before you understand the conditions under which that result must be produced. Curiosity before persuasion. Consequence before solution. Understanding before offer. Return to the composite coordinator. The working hypothesis is that repetitive weekly reporting creates delays and rework for small teams. That is not yet a discovered problem. It is a question worthy of investigation. The coordinator speaks with people who prepare, review, or depend upon those reports. How often are updates late? Where does information have to be collected twice? What decisions wait? What process is used now? Who could approve a different workflow? The conversations may confirm the hypothesis. They may reveal that delay is tolerated, but inconsistent information is the recognized burden. They may show that reporting is not important enough to change at all. Each answer is useful because each answer removes invention from the next decision. Do not fall in love with the tool. A chosen skill is not a command that reality must obey. It remains valuable only while it can be adapted responsibly to a burden another person acknowledges. If the problem reshapes how you apply the skill, you have not failed. You have learned what usefulness requires. Now write 3 things: the person, the recurring burden, and the desired change. Once you can state them in language the affected person would recognize, you are ready to join investigated pain with bounded capability and form one offer clear enough to be judged. Use the language you gathered. Do not decorate it. Do not enlarge it to make yourself appear more important. An offer is not your biography, a catalog of everything you can do, or a declaration that you can solve every problem for everyone. It is a clear proposal to produce a bounded result for a specific person. Unpackaged ability is difficult to recognize. A precise offer makes usefulness discussable. Build it in 5 parts. First, name the intended client. Second, state the recognized problem in language that client understands. Third, define the piece of work you will deliver or the process you will conduct. Fourth, establish the time boundary. Fifth, name the next step by which the person can examine, discuss, or begin the work. Person, problem, work, boundary. Next step, use this practical frame. I help this kind of person address this specific problem by delivering this defined piece of work within this boundary. The sentence is not a magical formula. It is a discipline. It forces ambition to become concrete and capability to accept limits. Then ask, why should anyone trust the proposal? Do not answer with invented authority. Do not guarantee an outcome controlled by conditions beyond your reach. Establish credibility honestly with a relevant sample. A brief diagnostic. prior experience that genuinely applies, or a small pilot that reduces the cost of testing your work. Confidence does not require inflation. It requires clarity about what you can presently support. State what is included. State what is excluded. State what must be supplied by the client. If timely access, accurate information, participation from a team member, or approval from a decision maker is necessary, say so. You can promise your process, your deliverable, your communication, and your responsible effort. You cannot promise cooperation you do not control or consequences dependent on hidden conditions. Now return to the composite coordinator. Suppose investigation does not confirm that reporting delay is the main burden. Instead, several conversations reveal that inconsistent inputs create repeated clarification and undermine confidence in the weekly update. The offer must follow that correction. A hypothetical proposal might be, I help small team coordinators reduce confusion in weekly reporting by running a short workflow pilot that standardizes agreed inputs, produces one reusable reporting process, and concludes with a review after the defined trial period. The team supplies access to the present workflow, identifies the required information, and participates in the review. The coordinator supplies the diagnostic, the draft workflow, the pilot setup, and the documented revision. The promise is limited, visible, and judgeable. Choose one offer for the test period. Do not write 6 versions for 6 audiences before speaking to one real person. Constant rewriting feels like refinement, but without contact, it merely multiplies assumptions. Hold the essential proposition steady long enough to discover whether the client is wrong, the problem is vague, the deliverable is confusing, the boundary is unattractive, or the next step demands too much. An offer is usefulness made specific enough to receive an answer. A yes reveals interest. A no reveals resistance. A question reveals uncertainty. An objection reveals where your understanding or construction may be weak. But understand this. A finished offer resting privately on your page is still a theory. Its work begins only when another person can answer it. Place the question before reality. What are you waiting to feel before you act? Confidence, certainty, freedom from embarrassment. Then understand the trap. If confidence must arrive before evidence, and evidence can arrive only after action, you have appointed uncertainty to guard the door forever. Confidence is not the entry requirement. Responsibility is. You can act while your voice is unsteady. You can test without pretending to know the outcome. You can make a careful proposal without declaring yourself beyond correction. Courage here is not emotional perfection. It is the decision to let a real response outrank an imagined one. Begin with the smallest discipline sequence. Request a problem conversation. Show a relevant sample or a clear outline of the proposed work. Present the bounded offer. Record the response. Request, show, present, record. Do not turn every answer into a drama. Classify it. Perhaps you lack access to the right person. Perhaps the person does not recognize the problem. Perhaps the intended outcome is unclear. Trust is too low, the timing is poor, the delivery method is unsuitable, or genuine interest is present. These are different signals. They demand different corrections. No access means improve access. No recognized problem means investigate again. An unclear outcome means sharpen the language. Low trust means strengthen the sample, diagnostic, or pilot. Poor timing means record when the need becomes active. Unsuitable delivery means reconsider how the work is provided. Genuine interest means define the next responsible step. A rejection judges the present combination of person, problem, work, boundary, and timing. It does not issue a final verdict on your worth, your capacity, or your future. Do not convert one response into an identity wound, but do not dismiss it either. Record it cleanly. Learn from it precisely. Require several comparable attempts before abandoning the entire direction. One unanswered message is not a market conclusion. One awkward conversation is not a career prophecy. Hold the essential offer steady long enough to observe a pattern. Yet correct misleading language immediately. Reduce irresponsible scope immediately. Persistence does not excuse confusion, exaggeration, or promises you cannot govern. Keep an evidence scorecard. How much practice did you complete? How many conversations did you hold? What recurring language did you hear? How many offers did you present? Which objections repeated? What did attempted delivery teach you? Measure conduct and observation, not mood. Imperfect action can produce instruction. It does not guarantee income, applause, or acceptance. Its promise is narrower and more useful. Contact produces information that private prediction cannot. Return to the composite coordinator. If teams do not regard reporting delay as consequential, the coordinator does not purchase another course, adopt another impressive identity, or defend the original assumption. The problem hypothesis changes. Attention moves toward the burden people actually name, such as inconsistent inputs and repeated clarification. The skill may remain, the problem may sharpen, the offer must adjust. The market cannot answer what you conceal from it, and fear has no authority to speak in its place. Act, record, compare, correct, then repeat the cycle long enough for evidence to become direction. A single exposure begins the test. The next requirement is a daily and weekly command strong enough to continue when confidence rises, falls, or disappears. A single exposure begins the test, but only a governed rhythm can complete it. For the next 30 days, place your chosen direction under one command, not the command of excitement, which fades. Not the command of fear, which changes its argument daily. Give it a routine that tells your attention where to return. Each morning, write one sentence naming your chosen skill, the investigated problem, and the current offer. Write it from memory, then correct it for precision. I am practicing this ability to reduce this recognized burden through this bounded service. This is not empty affirmation. It is operational instruction. It reminds you what you are building, whose burden matters, and what proposition is presently being tested. Protect one realistic block for practice or delivery. During that block, produce an artifact connected to the selected problem. Improve the sample. Complete part of the diagnostic. Build a defined workflow. Revise a deliverable, or perform the service step already promised. The block need not be heroic. It must be protected, repeated, and productive. Time alone is not evidence. Finished work is. By midday, move outward. Request a conversation. Send the follow-up. Ask someone to review the sample. Present the offer. Complete the next delivery step. Every day must contain some movement from private preparation toward another person's reality. You are training two disciplines at once: the ability to produce useful work and the willingness to let that work receive an answer. At day's end, ask three questions. What did I practice? What did reality teach me? What single correction will I carry forward? One correction, not a complete reinvention. Preserve what remains supported. Change what the evidence has weakened. Give each part of the month an emphasis. First, choose and investigate. Then practice and demonstrate. Then offer and deliver. Finally, review and refine. These are emphases, not walls. If a real opportunity to deliver appears early, act on it. If delivery reveals a question requiring investigation, return and investigate. The sequence governs attention without refusing useful evidence. Keep a later, not now list. When an attractive course, role, tool, business idea, or alternative direction appears, record it there. You are not required to forget it. You are required to prevent it from seizing the current test before the evidence is complete. And when you miss a block, return at the next available block. Flawlessness is not discipline. Prompt return is discipline. Do not turn one interruption into permission for another month of drift. Once each week, review outputs and responses. Artifacts completed, conversations held, offers presented, objections repeated, delivery lessons recorded. Do not count hours spent imagining possibilities. Count evidence produced. 30 days under one command will not settle every career question. It will make the next question more honest. But determination still requires boundaries. Before commitment becomes stubbornness, You must decide in advance what evidence calls for persistence, what calls for adaptation, and what requires you to stop. What does responsible commitment require? Must you neglect income, family, health, or prudent career maintenance to prove you are serious? No. Concentration is a defined experiment, not permission to damage the life the experiment is meant to improve. Protect essential obligations. If you need employment now, continue a baseline search, but govern it. Give it fixed hours, clear criteria, and a stopping point. Do not allow endless browsing and indiscriminate applications to consume the practice, investigation, and offer building that could strengthen your future position. Maintenance preserves stability. Scattered searching preserves confusion. Know the difference. Honesty is another boundary. Do not exaggerate your competence. Do not invent testimonials, fabricate demand, or guarantee outcomes you cannot control. A weak offer does not become stronger when falsehood is added to it. It becomes dangerous. Promise only the work, process, communication, and standards you can responsibly govern. And where work is regulated or safety sensitive, enthusiasm is not authorization. Obtain the appropriate qualifications before offering it. If you lack the competence, permission, or supervision required, reduce the scope or choose different work. Useful ambition accepts limits because it intends to be genuinely useful. Now establish the review before emotion argues the case. At the end of 30 days, examine 6 things: the quality of your practice, your access to relevant people, the recurrence of the problem language, the clarity of the offer, the responses it received, and the evidence produced through delivery or attempted delivery. Do not ask merely, do I still feel inspired? Ask, what has this test shown? Then make one of 3 decisions. Persist when the combination is producing credible signals and deeper practice is improving your ability to deliver. Adapt when evidence weakens one component, the person, problem, work, boundary, or timing, while supporting the rest. Stop when responsible attempts produce no meaningful support, access remains impractical, the burden is not recognized, or the work lies beyond the scope you should offer. Ending the test is not surrender. End it deliberately, record the lesson, and choose the next direction by the same disciplined method. Correction is not inconsistency. Correction is self-command, responding to truth. Drift is switching without evidence. Folly is refusing to switch because pride cannot bear instruction. The governed person does neither. You honor obligations, you tell the truth, you test within your competence, you persist where evidence strengthens the path, adapt where it corrects the path, and stop where it withdraws support. Now, no permanent life sentence is being demanded of you. Only an honest, bounded decision. The method is complete. The guardrails are set. Return to the crowded opportunity list and decide what will command your action now. Look again at the crowded tabs, the saved listings, the competing futures waiting to reclaim your attention. Which one has earned the right to command the next 30 days? Not the newest, not the most flattering, the one you are prepared to practice, investigate, and place before reality. Write 3 lines now. The demonstrable skill I will practice is. The costly problem I will investigate is. The bounded service offer I will test is. Keep them distinct. Then join them in one commitment. For 30 days I will practice this skill, investigate this burden with the people who carry it, and test this offer through responsible action. Now speak your code aloud. I am a person who chooses, serves, tests, learns, and returns. I do not abandon direction because discomfort speaks. I do not defend direction when evidence corrects it. Then move. Close the unrelated tabs. Schedule the first practice block. Send one request for a problem conversation, or if investigation is complete, send the appropriate offer message. Do it before another possibility asks to be considered. You cannot command acceptance. You cannot command timing. You cannot command external reward, but you can command attention. You can command practice. You can command honesty, service, outreach, and correction. Do not wait for a better opportunity to choose you. Choose the useful work you will practice and test now. Another opportunity may provide hope. Concentrated usefulness provides evidence, and evidence provides a direction you can improve.